A lovely good afternoon. You are tuned in to Millennium Television. Thank you so much for staying tuned in, and thank you so much for joining us on the Nation Pulse program this afternoon. Of course, a special program where we continue discussing and obviously remembering the late President Edgar Lungu, who died on the 5th of June 2025 in South Africa, where he was receiving medical treatments. And now this afternoon, we obviously delve into what comes after the President has cancelled the national mourning that was extended to 9 days. Yesterday, the President was addressing the nation, and he cancelled the national mourning indefinitely and said that the country needed to return to some sort of normalcy. And we've seen that after that announcement by the President, even members of the Patriotic Front that were mourning from the Patriotic Front Secretariat had actually dispersed as of last evening. Now, before we get into a conversation for this afternoon, but my name is Lovisa Chilufia, and do remember that you can catch this program live on your top study decoders on channel 95, and on our Facebook page, it is Millennium TV Zambia. This afternoon, we'll be joined by Ambassador Mwamba, Information and Publicity Chairperson for the Patriotic Front, to just delve into what happens after the President has cancelled the national mourning that was extended by 9 days. And of course, a statement that has just come in by a family spokesperson, Makebe Zulu, that the family has resolved that they will be burying President Lungu's remains in South Africa. But before we delve into that, let's listen to President Hakainde Hichilema's national address last evening. Remember that this program is streaming live on our Facebook page, Millennium TV Zambia. You'll be able to leave us a comment in our comment section, and on Topstar, it's on channel 95 over there. We'll be opening our phone line later on after I have had a conversation with Ambassador Mwamba, so that you can come in and just give us your views with what is obtaining on ground, as of today, and of course yesterday the President cancelling the national mourning that was extended to 9 days. We're expecting to actually be burying President Lungu on the 23rd of June 2025, which is Monday next week, and his remains were expected to be in the country by Wednesday, 18th of June, that is 2 days ago, but that did not happen because the government and the family could not reach a consensus after earlier reaching an agreement, but the family feels that the government had abrogated certain agreements, and thereafter they made a decision not to repatriate President Edgar Lungu's remains to Zambia. And we were stuck thinking and asking questions as to what was going to happen next. We were all expecting that probably the President would address the nation, and the President did address the nation yesterday and indefinitely cancelled the national mourning that was extended to Monday, 23rd of June, 2025. Before I introduce Ambassador Mwamba this afternoon, let's get into President Hakainde Hichilema's address last evening.
Our country cannot afford a state of indefinite mourning. We've done everything possible to engage the family of our departed 6th Republican President, and we've reached a point where a clear decision has to be made. Given these circumstances, I therefore wish to inform the nation that as of the end of today, the 19th of June 2025, this particular national mourning period is officially over. This will allow the country to begin to return to some normalcy. Mr. Lungu was not only an ordinary citizen, but our 6th Republican President. While we recognize that he belongs to a family, he also belongs to the nation of Zambia. It is therefore correct that our 6th Republican President should be buried in Zambia with full honors and not in any other nation. In the meantime, we urge our citizens to maintain calm and orderliness. As we have stated before, during this difficult time, no amount of lawlessness will be tolerated. Let us remain united as a nation and maintain the peace we are known for. In this spirit, we say to the Lungu family, and indeed the people of Zambia, our hearts remain with you. Our doors as government remain open for further engagement as appropriate. May the soul of our departed former Republican president, Mr.
Right, and that is President Hakainde Hichilema that was addressing the nation last evening regarding the national mourning that was extended to the 23rd of June. The president did address the nation earlier this week also to extend the national mourning, and as well expecting the family to repatriate President Edgar Lungu's remains to Zambia, which was met with a few challenges as well. And as of yesterday, the president did cancel the national mourning that was extended to 23rd of June so that the country can start to return to some sort of normalcy. Since we know that a lot of things have been on hold as the country was in national mourning. This afternoon, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, Patriotic Front Information and Publicity Chairperson, joins me via video. Ambassador, good afternoon and good morning where you are.
Thank you very much, Lovisa, and good morning to your TV and social media audience.
How are you doing this this afternoon, Ambassador?
Oh, very well, except for the circumstance that have gripped the nation. It's a very difficult period for all of us, and we are witnessing something we haven't witnessed in our country in a long time. The loss of a former president, whether sitting or former, is traumatic to the nation, is tragic to the nation. Because this is our first family or our former first family, and their status and contribution to the nation is immense, and the grief is usually personal, very, very personal, because citizens regard our head of state as a custodian of our national values, as a custodian of everything that represents the country. And remember, citizens wake up very early, like 04:03, to go and queue up for many to vote these leaders. So they are very special. They hold a very special status in our country, and their loss it affects all of us personally at individual level. Yes, Lovisa.
Happened from the 5th of June up until where we are today, when a decision has been made by the family of President Lungu to bury the remains of the former head of state in South Africa. And of course, the agreements that were made by the family and the government prior to Wednesday, 18th of June. And the past 2 weeks of national mourning, which definitely the president yesterday did cancel after an extension to the 23rd of June 2025, seeing that the family wasn't agreeing to certain things that they feel the government had actually breached from their previous agreement. Let us recap everything that has happened in the past 2 weeks.
First of all, I have just seen a written statement from South Africa, and I'm sorry, I just woke up and I've seen a statement by the family spokesperson stating that the burial of the late president will be done in South Africa. They are responding to the remarks that were made by the president yesterday, and they are stating that President Edgar Lungu will be put to rest in a private funeral. This is a full statement that Honorable Makebi Zulu as family spokesperson. And just before we came on air, I have just called emergently if this statement is true. Probably this decision was made overnight while while I was here indisposed at the moment. But Honorable Makebi Zulu has confirmed in a statement issued that the remains of the late president will be put to rest in South Africa.
Let us talk about President Hakainde Hichilema yesterday addressed the nation, and he cancelled the national mourning that had been extended to 9 days because I think this is because the family refused to repatriate President Edgar Lungu's remains on 18th June on Wednesday, and this, according to the family, is because they feel that the government had abrogated certain agreements that were earlier agreed upon by the family and the government. Now, President Hakainde Hichilema yesterday cancelled the national mourning. I don't know what you make of that cancellation.
It's regrettable that the president had to cancel national mourning, a period he had declared. It demonstrates that he had given up on further negotiations. I think the statement was done. That sounds like the statement was done in anger, because we had as a nation told that there will be a period of national mourning that would go up to 23rd of June. So we're many days away from that actual date, and it was shocking to learn that the president had cancelled that period of national mourning, cut it short, and he said the country will return to normal. I don't know why he gave up easily on their decision to pursue any further negotiations. I think it's desirable that the late president is put to rest here in Zambia, in our country where he was born, where he ruled as president, a country he loved so much, a country he would have loved to die from and be buried and put to rest from. The turn of events where there's this impasse between the family and the president, and then a decision has been made to put to rest the remains in South Africa, is highly regrettable. Too late, the late president interred has not been buried. These are mere announcements from State House and from the family. It is too late to rescue the situation. Our position as the Patriotic Front is that we will support the decision of the family, whatever decision the family makes. But we should never give up on an ideal situation. An ideal situation is that the late president must be repatriated to Lusaka, Zambia. The late president must be allowed to be accorded the honor, dignity, and respect commensurate to the office he occupied. The late president must be allowed to rest in Zambia. The late president must be allowed, according to our now tradition, at Embassy Park. Putting the president to rest anywhere else other than Zambia demonstrate failed leadership by President Hakainde Hichilema. I will squarely blame him, because who is the family other than Mama Edgar Lungu, the children, and the immediate personal family? We cannot, as government, get people that can discuss and speak to them and resolve this matter amicably. I do not think that the standoff is necessary, and there's no need to use, for example, the language and manner we saw yesterday by the president, where he shifted the blame. He shifted the entire blame to the family as a cause of the delayed funeral program, delayed failure to put the remains and repatriate them remains to Zambia. That was very dangerous talk, because what that does is now to turn his weaponry, his infrastructure, his media, his echo chambers against the family. The family at this moment is helpless. The family at this moment is extremely vulnerable. That's why we say the bereaved family, because they are in deep grief and bereaving. So for the president to have made the address he made and squarely blamed it on the family, you have seen social media and others respond, where they are now attacking the family, where they are now disregarding the remains of the president.
Family representative Makebe Zulu on Wednesday, in his address, I think towards the end of his address, said it is our hope that someday President Lungu's remains will be repatriated to Zambia and be buried back home. I think the word someday is what left a lot of people in Zambia questioning as to What exactly does he mean when he says someday President Lungu's remains will be repatriated to Zambia? And seeing that the government has been trying to engage the Lungu family in repatriating President Lungu's remains to Zambia, and thereafter we are told that it is their hope that one day his remains will be repatriated to Zambia. I don't know how you interpret the word someday, but in this case, what would you rather the government should have done in such a scenario?
Lovisa, the decision to put the remains of the late president away from Zambia became an optional. The matter became protracted just from the onset. If we are to do a recap, first of all, the late president was denied an opportunity to go for medical treatment many times. The last medical treatment was in 2022. He was subjected to ridicule, speculations, harassment during the entire period, even before he came into politics. There has been an argument by the UPA that, look, President Edgar Lungu also mistreated President Lungu in opposition. And when they confronted recently the issues, they were confronting each other, politics, because the president had returned to active politics. That is not true. Remember when he was a private citizen, when he wished to jog, he was accompanied by the police, he was stopped by the police, he was harassed. There was statement from Honak Mwimbu, from spokespersons of the UPND and government, condemning his jogging, calling it political, calling it that it is a way of trying to return to partisan politics. When he went to church and he received warm embrace by members of the church wherever he went, again was condemned. In many cases was even stopped. When an interdenominational church service was held in Ndola and the president was to grace it, he was stopped at the airport, and the church ceremony was disrupted by the police, where they stormed the place of worship and even arrested the two pastors that were hosting that program. This is prior to him announcing that he has returned to active politics. And it became worse when he became, he returned to party politics when he attempted to rescue the destruction of the Patriotic Front, where the was literally trying to steal the Patriotic Front. But what was inhuman in this treatment was government's refusal to allow him to work treatment. That was in access. That was acceptable, because that is a fundamental human right. Treatment, access to medical care is a fundamental human right. You can't compromise on that. They compromised on it. President Edgar Lungu has been in South Africa since January 2025, and even the manner in which he went, it even got someone fired. A gentleman called an airport civil aviation manager, airport security manager, was fired for allowing the late president to travel to South Africa. And even the period he's been in South Africa has been a period of ridicule, period of attacks. It was unrelenting. And then there was a big scandalize his health. They kept on sending their stooges and their echo chambers. No, he's in a coma. No, he's about to die. The entire 6 months that he was in South Africa. They never remembered that he's a former president. They never remembered that this was our head of state who was president for 7 years. They never even extended help, because medical treatment in South Africa is extremely expensive, and seeking such specialized medical treatment at a private hospital, not government hospital, is even doubly expensive. The government has not treated President Edgar Lungu very well, or his family. This is beside come to these, most of them manufactured legal issues to preoccupy them and lock them up in courts of law the entire period. But he has not been treated well. And when he died and the issues arose from the first talks that the family had with the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the delegation of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mwamba Haimbe, and the discussions broke down. The matter was so acrimonious that government felt, government was pushing the line so hard, they were disregarding family wishes. And the option of burying the late president elsewhere, in South Africa or elsewhere, now became active. And I think there was even speculation at the time, but that maybe should be put to rest in South Africa temporarily, because even the family recognizes that the late president belongs to Zambia and he must lie in Zambia. So the decision that we have heard announced through text by the family spokesperson, for me is regrettable. For us, it's regrettable. But as announced by Honowinda, whatever decision the family takes will be supported. And this decision to put the remains of the late president in South Africa is highly regrettable, but the duty of the Patriotic Front will be to support that decision of the family. And like I stated quickly, Lovisa, is that it is not too late. It is not too late to engage the family. It's not too late. This remains an announcement. It's still very definite, the way I know as a diplomat, the way I know negotiations. There are stages of crisis. It's still not too late. Even when you engage in a war, you still go into dialogue and obtain a ceasefire. Even in war, for us diplomats, it's not too late to negotiate. So despite this announcement by the family that has just been let out, for me, it's still not too late to arrive at an amicable solution that will accord Zambians an opportunity to mourn the late president. That will allow all family members, because if they are burying the late president in South Africa, it becomes extremely difficult for everyone that wishes to pay their last respect.
Sorry to cut you
short,
Ambassador.
Before that funeral.
With everything that you've said, and amidst the back and forth with the government and the family of the late president, you speak about how the late president was maltreated by the current government. And if we take it back, there are also people that are saying, and this is, we've seen that President Hakainde Hichilema, while the Patriotic Front was in office, also had arrested President Hichilema a few times. And I think we've seen that on record. President Hakainde Hichilema has been questioned a lot of times what his relationship was like with now the late. And I think the first answer he would give is that he arrested me 15 times. There's been cause that President Hakainde Hichilema should issue an apology. If the President Hakainde Hichilema had issued an apology, would the family had accepted that President Hichilema should be part of the maybe leading the body viewing at Mulungushi International Conference Center, or even just being part of the funeral? Because I think this is where the contention is.
Yes, indeed. For me, it is a missed opportunity by the president. It's a missed opportunity by the president. He had an opportunity to make peace. People have been comparing the late president to President Lungu, that he should have, like you are stating, that he should have apologized. Many people feel that the president should have apologized. Was President Hakainde Hichilema mistreated whilst in South Africa? Whilst in opposition? Yes, he was. In this case, the two roles are totally different. President Edgar Lungu was former head of state. Mr. Hakainde Hichilema was an opposition leader. He had never been president prior to this. So for me, the comparisons are a bit difficult in both ways, because in the first instance, the opposition leader, he was an opposition leader, but that doesn't justify that he should have been mistreated or government infrastructure should have been mistreated. I think that in this case, one person was alive, the other one was deceased. So the one who was alive had greater responsibility to resolve this matter in death and close the chapter properly. The decision to apologize would have gone a long way. The word sorry is not a bad word. The word sorry is not a terrible word. Hello, I can't hear you. Or tell the technician. Okay, thanks.
The late President Edgar Lungu and now President Hakainde Hichilema. We know the history between the two leaders, and these are leaders that even while President Edgar Lungu, even prior to his trip to South Africa, couldn't reconcile with the incumbent. I think the cause for the two leaders to reconcile at the time were met with conditions, and which the dialogue between the dialogue couldn't even take place because the reconciliation and just the two to come together, there were conditions that if this meeting was to hold, then President Hakainde Hichilema needed to do this, which President Hakainde Hichilema also said if they were to sit down, then it shouldn't come with conditions. We've seen the back and forth between President Hakainde Hichilema and President Edgar Lungu. Now, don't you think that even you members of the Patriotic Front had a role to play maybe in just engaging with the president, the current president of Zambia, even the family as well, if you wanted him to issue an apology? Because the question now is, what exactly was he apologizing for if the government actually even met with the families? So what was the president supposed to apologize for?
The mistreatment, the bad words that were being used, Mingalato, Kamapamkoshi, I'll never allow you to return, to power, the words between presidents, current and former president, polarizes the nation, because his supporters who camp on the other side, hurling insults against the supporters on this other side. The difficulties and tiffs, challenges and quarreling or whatever it is between the president and senior leaders, and especially former president, immediately plunges the nation into disunity, because their supporters are forced to engage in this bitter row, one protecting the other, one justifying the action of the other. Even uttered, regrettable words, and even President Lungu never responded. You saw how his supporters joined. That's why you had youths stating that they will circumcise the late president. They banned him from certain provinces. It was a reaction of their leader, what their leader was saying, what their leader was proposing. We owe each other an apology in the manner we conduct our politics in Zambia. They are bitter, personal, they are not issue-based, they are devoid of solutions, and the public discourse itself is regrettable, because we don't discuss national building issues that should bring us together. We do not. But this has to be with the leadership. The leader should lead. If the leader is discussing investment, if the leader is discussing solutions, the nation will discuss solutions, the nation will discuss investment, the nation will discuss development. You gave a good example that when President Hakainde Hichilema appeared at, I think, Reformed Church of Zambia event, where he said, I want to reconcile with my dear brother, my predecessor. And this is not the first time he had said this several times. And the Justice Forum, which comprises, church bodies and the Law Association of Zambia, decided to take this request, these public utterances by the president. I want to reconcile. I want to reconcile with my predecessor. I want to reconcile with my predecessor. I want to reconcile with my predecessor. They said, maybe it's serious. So they took a letter and wrote to President. I think it probably wrote to both of them, but for us, what we saw was a letter coming from the Oasis Forum inquiring on that they had started an initiative to put together the two parties and to attempt to resolve whatever crisis was them in the interest of national building, in the interest of national unity, in the interest of disengaging from this acrimonious public debate that they had subjected the nation to. President Edgar Lungu responded well to the idea. Yeah. And this was at the height that the Patriotic Front was just stolen. So he gave some conditions that this dialogue is important. But, there's been hypocrisy displayed in the past. What my brother speaks about in past is not what he does. He would totally do something different. Can we have some commitments? Number one, restore the issues relating to the Patriotic Front. He should stop his interference. We can have the talks. I think there were 3 conditions. Now, Lovisa, you are saying that the president should not have put conditions. No, in talks like this, it is normal. The other party might say, before I come to your table, me as a mass, can you put a ceasefire? It is normal to put conditions. The conditions themselves are part of the talks and the dialogue. These are pre-talks, pre-processes before you engage in dialogue. There was nothing wrong. What President Hakainde Hichilema could have done. Oh, is that matter you want resolved? I agree it can be resolved, but I am putting it to the actual meeting when we meet. Can it be part of the agenda item? There are processes saying, and there are preconditions many times. For example, if the warring or belligerent parties are arguing and people are trying to put them together, whether it's the United Nations, AU, or SADC. For example, the rebel movement, no, we can't meet in Kinshasa. Our safety is not guaranteed. So before we engage in those talks, can we meet in Kampala or in Nairobi? So they put a precondition to the talks and state where they can meet. So there's nothing wrong with preconditions. That's my point. But President Hakainde Hichilema repeatedly missed the opportunity. I think he was determined to use whatever was available as demonstrated speeches every time he addressed his cadres, whether it was in Chingola, Chilabomwe, was at the party secretariat in Lusaka. He truly engaged in acrimonious narrative against his predecessor. He missed the opportunity to build the relationship. He missed the opportunity to help heal the country. The country has been preoccupied in a sense of vengeance. Okay, let us imagine all the harm that was done to President Hakainde Hichilema, that was arrested 15 times, was locked up for 127 days. When you become president, hasn't the Lord rewarded you after persecution? Isn't it one of the reasons the Lord has even given you that immense power? Will you not now use that power to the benefit of the country, to all the parties that are available before you drop the country? Aren't you supposed to showcase that you are actually different from your persecutors? So for me, it was an opportunity. Either way, if harm was extended to President Hakainde Hichilema in opposition, he should have been listened when he assumed office. That's why the Lord put him there as our head of state. But you can't practice vengeance. Vengeance, like the Lord says, is unto him.
Ambassador, sorry to cut you short there. We had members of the Patriotic Front that were mourning from the Patriotic Front Secretariat that eventually dispersed last evening after the mourning period was cancelled. What happens to members of the Patriotic Front that have been mourning from here, and now the decision by the family to give President Lungu a private burial in South Africa? What happens to your members here and members of the party of the Patriotic Front here in Zambia, those that would have wanted to give President Lungu a befitting send-off and just be part of the whole process of mourning their leader and sending him off in an amicable manner?
Before the announcement was made, that the president will address the nation, we saw heightened activities. We saw people report the Patriotic Front to police station. These are stooges of the UPND. They demanded that the police take action and disperse the crowd at the secretariat. We heard plans that UPND thugs will be sent overnight to come and attack our members. So we took a preemptive action. This was before the address. I think we began to prepare our members that they should vacate the party secretariat because there were sinister motives, and we didn't want to place and mourners that had gathered sincerely to mourn the late president in harm's way. And if you see that the party secretariat, even before the national address took place at 1930. So it was a decision of the party to encourage our mourners as soon as possible to vacate the secretariat. This morning, come and seal the air, trying to already dispersed hours earlier. So it was an internal decision arising from intelligence information we received that our members were in harm's way because one, the police were being mobile and disperse them, and two, we had reports that the UPND thugs would come and attack our members. What we talk about in one breath, we are talking of peace, unity, mourning the late president in good faith. In the other, we are engaged in dirty politics, in politics that literally degenerate to violence. So it was a decision of the party to secure safety of our members.
0813-728. And just maybe, Ambassador, before I pick a call, now that the burial is taking place in South Africa, will you be attending?
I'm still by this news that has come from South Africa personally, that will be put to rest the late president. I'm still troubled by it. I still think that maybe something that we can what we'll be engaged in when I leave this program. I have to call the leadership and understand the announcement appears final. The announcement is already telling the state to respect the wishes of the family that put to rest in South Africa. But like I'm saying, look, the man dies, you've been missing the last 6 months, you turn up and all you want is a body and that the body be repatriated to Lusaka. You even dig, you even decorate the grave, you even finish everything, you engage in discussion. It's like it's a moment you were waiting for. And I heard the President Lema says he has done anything possible to ensure that President Lungu was dignity and his remains were repatriated to Zambia. You have not done everything possible. In fact, you have not even done half of everything possible. The engagement so far were half-hearted in approach. The choice of emissaries, everything was wrong. Choice of emissaries, even this crisis, by the cancellation of period of national mourning. You had set out the period of national up to Monday, but muchifukushi efebalelanda abantu bonse pa social media muchifukushi mwafikansa. Yet you had told the nation that the national mourning period was going to be up to 23rd June. So you shut down the door of negotiations and dialogue yesterday. You unleashed, the dogs into the yard to attack the family of the late president. That's what was done yesterday. You cut short the mourning period, which had declared, you had said for 7 days, you added another day, another 9 days to mourn days. Midst before we could 13th or 13th, the mourning period, because yesterday was a 40th day, and yesterday was 14 days.
All right. Let us pick a few calls, Ambassador, before we wrap up our conversation. And just before I let you go, the number that you're calling us on is 0770813728. Good afternoon.
Yes, madam. Are you getting?
You're through to the program. Your names and where you're calling us from? Yes, Mr. Msusu.
Let the technician help with the volume for the caller.
Why allow Madam? That is the wise decision, and that is the only thing that there. Freedom fighters Zambia here. More than what will be wrong. So, Madam, and President, what lessons and the moving. Why on the person what you give? So, Madam, this is a very important president. I've never seen it personally, but what I will tell you, I'm commending the Lungu family for deciding to marry.
Thank you so much, Mr. Msusu. You may wind up with a...
For us who know the work of Edgar Lungu.
Thank you so much for calling. Thank you so much. All right. 0770813728 is the number that you are getting in touch with us on to be part of the program. And on our Facebook page, it is Millennium TV Zambia. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're through to the program. Your names and where you're calling us from?
I'm calling from Chirenge.
Your names, please.
I'm Prince.
Yes, Prince.
There are so many suspicions, and I'm now beginning to think we will because he's alive. Maybe the next 2 or 3 years, no, here I am. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Prince. 0770813728 is the number that you are dialing to be part of the program. Do reach us on our Facebook page as well. It is Millennium TV Zambia. Ambassador Mwamba, Information and Publicity Chairperson for the Patriotic Front, is joining me via video this afternoon on the program. The number is on your screen. Do call us and be part of the conversation. Ambassador, I'll let you respond to Mr. Msusu and as well as Prince, who says that maybe President Lungu is alive, and in the next 2 to 3 years we'll just be informed that he is alive. And this has also been a concern from some people in society, thinking that maybe President Lungu is still alive, and this is probably part of the Plan B the Patriotic Front has been putting up.
South Africa of laws. South Africa regulated by law. South Africa is not a place ukwa kutwala ko amangalo. So that speculation can only happen in a banana republic. Such things can only happen in countries other than South Africa, that I can tell you. You cannot have authorities participate in such a fraudulent activity. They say someone has died, and the president of South Africa, Ramaphosa, is involved. From day one, he's been helping the family, and others are involved, and the various number of authorities involved in the demise of anyone. Is foolhardy, but this is ridicule and mockery coming from the UPND that now wish to mock us, that we are lying about our grief, that we are lying about the death of the late president. And we should not pay attention to such mockery. I think let us discuss something that either resolve this issue or builds our nation, or regret what is happening currently, where there is lack of leadership on this matter. Yala?
What's from Khadija?
I'm calling you from within Lusaka.
Right. You can go ahead with your contribution or question.
Yes, please. I think my contribution, I don't know if it's a contribution or advice. I think it's not too late for something to be done. I think a way must come up whereby the body of the late president must be buried in Zambia. Yes, I hope well spoken from the leader. I hope other leaders also can see the way forward, please. I think that's my contribution.
Thank you so much, Khadija, for coming through. It is 0770813728. That is the number that you're dialing to be part of the program. On our Facebook page, it is Millennium TV Zambia. Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba is joining me this afternoon on the program. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, madam. How are you?
Fine, thank you, sir. Your names and where you're calling us from?
You are talking to Matthews, Muslim, yes, calling you from Columbia.
Yes, Mr. Matthews.
Yes, madam. It is quite unfortunate and happening on the 10 of events regarding the funeral of our 60th Republican President, Dr. Lungu. Okay? In the sense that the party, the PF and the family, the way they are handling this issue is not in line with the African tradition,
right.
Number one. Number two, it is not in line with our national laws that govern the death of the head of state or the former head of state. You do not play politics when the former head of state dies, because once the former head of state dies, it becomes a state property, and that the government has tried everything possible. But now, because of selfish individuals that are trying to take advantage to start scandalizing the current government, that's why we have all these issues. And why making a decision of burying a former head of state who was the national property in a foreign land?
Sorry to cut you short. Mr. Matthews, in this case, when you talk about selfish individuals, who are you referring to?
I'm referring to the political party, the PF leaders who are dragging the family too much. Because I don't think the family would wish for the president to be buried, the former president to be buried in a foreign land. Because what are we setting?
And how would you know? How would you know that, Mr. Matthews? Because what we've been informed, and who the person informing the nation is the family spokesperson, Mr. Makebi Zulu. So the Patriotic Front itself has distanced itself from any decision that the family has to make in this case. So how are you so sure that it's the Patriotic Front influencing the family?
There is a statement that is, which has been released, that the former head of state who is going to be buried in South Africa, and Mr. Matete Zulu being the family spokesperson is also affiliated to the PF. Now, whatever the decisions that they are making, the PF is also involved. So one thing that we should think and put across or put it to light is that whatever that we are doing, one day it is going to hurt us, because that man was not an ordinary person.
Right.
Okay? He was not an ordinary person like you and I, such that we can make decisions on those lines.
Mr. Matthews, thank you so much.
We can vary our differences in terms in situations like these ones.
Thank you so much, Mr. Matthews, for calling through. Thank you so much. 0770813728 is the number that you are dialing to be part of the program. We have a few minutes before we wrap up, and we'll allow for one more call before we close our phone line this afternoon. You're through to the program. Your names and where you're calling us from? Please reduce the volume on your TV.
Yes, this is, I'm calling within Lusaka.
Your names, please.
I'm following the program.
Reduce the volume on your TV.
Alright, yeah, I've reduced it. I'm following the program, but just a concern as a Zambian citizen, following the issue which is attending at the ground. I don't know, as young people, where they are going. I don't know, because this issue was supposed to be sorted out in the family and the government of the day. All the former presidents, I think, were buried here in Zambia, but only Edgar Lungu was buried in South Africa, which is not good also, because that person was the president of this country and not there. So if there is any issue how the government and the family, like, they might have some changes here and there to make sure that the body is here, and avoiding all these quarrels and rumors that we are hearing. We are called one Zambia, one nation. With these things and issues which is happening right now, are we sure called because Zambia is a Christian nation? Yes, no. If our parents are able to do those things, as children, young people, youths, where are we going? Because we are going to inherit what the parents are doing. And most of them will be following exactly what the parents are doing. Few of them will be like, no, I think this is the bad path, this is not good. But some of us will be affected.
Right.
So that's the main concern with me to say. Before it's too late, I would love to see if there will be any changes to make sure that maybe the barrage program changes. Well, I will be very happy as you. Look at now, we are mourning for 7 days. From there, there's been increased some days, which is almost as long as 2 weeks, going to 3 weeks. But in these 2 weeks, because of some confusion, it has been cancelled. So I don't know, you journalists who are there to give us the platform, if you can have those chances to ask our leaders on our behalf as the youth.
All right. Thank you so much for calling through and for being our last caller on the program. Thank you so much. That is where we close our phone line now. Let Ambassador Mwamba respond to our callers as we also wind up the program this afternoon. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. What has been the entire period is the mockery. While the president was speaking peace, speaking unity, he unleashed negative vitriol, on his online pages that are run by State House, the rogue pages. He had people that usually speak for him. Ramit, Simon Mwewa, unleashed, attacking the late president. Something that is totally un-African. You're attacking the deceased persons. And there was no word of responsibility even from the president to guide his members that, colleagues, this vitriolic attack on the family must stop. Can we mourn in peace? We had statements from people like his minister from the Copper Belt, Elisha Matambo, who said, come Sunday, we'll round all of you up. Meaning, as soon as we bury, we'll round you up. The acrimonious debate demonstrated hypocritical nature of President Hakainde Hichilema, the way he loves to do things. He loves to do things in parallel. To ZMBC, he's saying this, the UPND infrastructure, Koswe, and these other infrastructure are saying something totally opposite. And that exposes him that this is hypocritical leadership. There's no sincerity in the leadership. Everything is taken as a political contest, a political war that must be won. So for him, even this war must be won. And he has announced yesterday that President Edgar Lungu will lie in Zambia. That in itself was an acrimonious statement, because it was daring the family that whatever you are planning, President Edgar Lungu will lie in Zambia. So are they going to abduct the body? Are they going to physically stop the burying in South Africa? What does the president mean that he will lie in Zambia? You know, this is a moment of negotiations, give and take. I give up this. The family gave up their request for mourning in Ndola and Petauke. The family gave up a lot of things. So did the state. It's a give and take. A deadlock was reached. Again, you engage in talks to ensure that that deadlock is unlocked. Unfortunately, we are at this stage where we are allowing the late president to be buried with a deadlock in place, with matters unresolved. We are doing
Ambassador,
a
as we wind up
disfavor
our
to the
conversation,
nation.
what is your take on the Electoral Commission of Zambia's decision to go ahead with the Petauke by-election on June 26th, 2025, as they announced earlier this week?
ECZ, you know, like the United Nations Human Rights Commission and Special Rapporteur and other human rights organizations have noted, is that the president has hijacked state institutions. The president has blurred the line of separation of powers. The president has diluted the powers of democratic institutions such as ECZ. So what we have is an autocratic government, a dictatorship in place, where the judiciary is an extension, where parliament is an extension of state house, where entities like ECZ, the Zambia police and others are at the behest of the president, and they will not do anything that will offend the president or the UPND. This is the description of all human rights organizations and those that have issued statement of state of democracy in Zambia is in peril. The rule of law has been abandoned. Democratic institutions are no longer democratic or independent or autonomous. And the separation of powers between the state, judiciary and parliament doesn't exist anymore. Look at the remarks by the special rapporteur on the judiciary, that it has been weaponized. It is being used by the executive branch of government to punish political opponents. What that means is that no person has been jailed fairly. No person has their property grabbed fairly. What it means is what is happening in the judiciary is a sham, because it is an extension of the executive.
It's been a pleasure having you on the program this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. God bless you and God bless our country.
All right. Thank you so much once again. We come to the end of the Nation House program on television. Thank you so much to everyone that tuned in. Information and Publicity Chairperson for the Patriotic Front, Ambassador Mwamba, was joining me this afternoon to discuss what's next for the Lungu family. And Ambassador Mwamba echoes that there's still time for the government and the Edgar Lungu family to still reach a consensus. And it also saddens him that they've arrived at a decision to bury President Lungu in South Africa. And we're all hopeful that maybe, as we go towards the weekend, there should be a sort of agreement that will be reached between the government and the late president's family as to where he's going to be laid to rest. I've been your host, Lovisa Chilifia. Thank you so much for tuning in to Millennium TV. Do stay tuned. Enjoy your weekend, and thank you so much for watching.